Hey friends, Shay here. So it is time to get back to the Spellmonger series books. So I am now in book 7, which is called Enchanter. If you are unfamiliar with the Spellmonger series, these will be riddled with spoilers because we're clearly at book 7. But I do have a spoiler-free one about the first book linked here. So it's linked in the corner. The thumbnail looks like this. I'll have it linked down below. So you can find the beginning of this series and my thoughts on it. Clearly, if I'm 7 books deep, I'm pretty invested at this point. And I'm going to preface this with, if people give up on the series early, they'll say certain things about Terry Mancour and his depiction of women. But I think the further in the series you get, the less you feel that way. So I think it's just establishing how the world stood at that point and how it's changing and evolving and how women are gaining power and gaining more rights and all those kinds of things. So if you have heard those kinds of things, I'd recommend continuing on with the series because I feel like with each book it's gotten better. So do know that. Okay, so let's get into Enchanter. So obviously Minilin is back in Sevendor. It's about time for the big magic festival, and it's time for Penchandra to move into the next phase of her journey. I believe the next book is all about her and her journey, but she is not going to be based in Sevendor anymore. She's going to be based elsewhere, which is better for her new hubby, and it's all going well there. I really like how that went down because they were both kind of along the same lines, but Min knew how to get them to middle ground better than Penny did because this is all new for her. And so I liked that he helped her in that way, how he was able to help her find a middle ground where she's not giving up what she loves doing and the power that she wields just because she got married, but she was able to go somewhere that is more rural and more rustic and a lot easier for her husband who is used to living in the woods. So I really liked how that went down. When it comes to the Magic Festival, that had some interesting implications here. Easily being present being the biggest one. There's a lot of emphasis on Easily during this festival. They run into each other a little bit, but they are all, Minilin's trying to avoid her at the same time, trying to focus on Alia and all of his other guests. But there comes a point where they have a moment alone together and then they end up having another meeting, closed doors, where truth serums abound between the two of them and things are revealed there. This leads to kind of the crux of this early part of this book for me at the end of the festival. So Minilin's going back to the mountain to contemplate in front of the snowflake that we found at the end of the previous book. And with all of that, that was a really hard chapter to read. I was in the car with Steve. We were listening to the audiobooks so I'm there with my partner, and he had kind of warned me that this could potentially happen. So when it came up, I wasn't totally blindsided, but a content warning for those who need it: Minilin is raped by Easily. And the way this all went down just proves that there's a screw loose with Easily, and I don't love how that feels for a myriad of reasons. You can probably guess them from some of my comments earlier in this video, but at the same time, the following chapter with Ishi helped that feel a little better. I still paused even after that and talked with my partner about it, and this whole thing where he was drugged and raped, and to a point where he was basically made her puppet, like, it just felt icky. And it should feel icky. It's not supposed to feel good. So I'm not trying to say this should ever feel good. But Easily got what she wanted out of it, which is a pregnancy. And because of that, Ishi couldn't intervene in certain ways. But Ishi comes and tries to make things as good as she can for Minilin. So this power and control is supposed to be something that Easily has long term, but he barters with Ishi so that's gone already. It was just for that moment, and I think that's good. And there are more things going on there, obviously, and we'll see the ramifications of that later, I'm sure. But through the following chapters, he focuses on having all of these enchanters that were there at the festival kind of like focusing on changing how enchanting works, which is, I'm pretty sure why they call this book Enchanter. Through that, he's kind of ignoring Alia, his wife, and his kids, and just kind of burying himself in work to kind of deal with the PTSD of what happened. Being someone who struggled with PTSD in a similar but not the same kind of way, related to a past partner, this is something that I did for a long time, so I can understand this reaction. I do wish he would have just told Alia what was up from the beginning. With where we're at now, he still has not told her. And so I hate that that's where we're at with that. But at the same time, I understand, because when things like that happen, there's a lot of shame and a lot of embarrassment involved. And you can clearly see that that's what Min is feeling. Terry's made that very clear in his writing. And I think this one, it's going to be an interesting one, because it's going to change the playing field a lot. He's also leveled up a lot of the people that we've been following along the way. Like, they all are now having like baronies and becoming earls or dukes and things like that. And I love it. They all deserve it, obviously, but you know, these are people from humble beginnings gaining power. And I think that could have some interesting ramifications later. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to see where the rest of this book is going to go. Again, this first part of the book has been hard in a way, just because of what happened with Isali. And I really just want Min to come clean with Alia and tell her what's up. And I do love that Ishi tells Min that he has like 3 other kids that he's unaware of, that he's sired out in the world. And we get to see his apprentices come back with another person in tow that I think is going to play a big part in the series as we go on. So yes, I am invested. I'm still enjoying myself, but I could definitely understand people having a hard time with this particular book because of that kind of content. Just know that I think Terry handled it with as much grace as he could, and that there are going to be long-term things happening from this, obviously, but the one that felt the most vile out of all of it is just in that moment. So I appreciated that a whole lot. So with that said, once I've read some more, we'll come back, we'll chat more. But yes, that's where we're at with Enchanter. And yeah, I'll chat with you guys more later. Hello, so it is time to update you on Spellmonger. I am currently in a drive-through, so I'm going to update you quickly. I am now 27 chapters in. Minolin has had to face his rapist once again and had to lay with his rapist. And she's playing all sorts of dirty tricks. The goddess that has been manifested has started causing all sorts of shenanigans, and Minolin had to go and kind of put her in her place a bit again. And when he was headed to do that, he found out that there was a spell upon his wife. So Isali, our rapist, has now gone and messed with his wife, and obviously he's not okay with that. The goddess, he tells this to the goddess, and she's like, oh, well, if you go and lay with her and do your husbandly duties, that will be gone, I promise. And so that happens, and now the effects of that, because they do it back at home, because of the snowstone, is like, it's kind of spread through the whole kingdom, which has been funny. The biggest thing about this book is Minolin is not communicating with Isali. Or with Alia. Because if he had been communicating with Alia, Isali wouldn't have been able to get near enough to her to cast this spell. Unless she's got somebody on her payroll that we are unaware of at this moment. So I just need Min and Alia to have that conversation. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's not going to be a great conversation. But the longer this goes on, the worse that conversation's going to be. And I just worry. I do know the next book is Pentandra's book, where we're going to kind of figure out what's going on with her and Ishi, and then it'll continue a little bit further. Ishi's the goddess, by the way. So I'm very much looking forward to that now that we've had the ball and the snippet of how things are actually going. So I am enjoying myself still. I probably won't update you until I finish. I might just kind of sit and focus and try to finish it today. We'll see. I've got to go do some hair real quick this morning. But after that, I think it's just going to be editing and Spellmonger time. So here we go. Okay, so I realized that I keep forgetting to talk about Ruderall in these clips. I adore Ruderall, and Ruderall clearly is going to have a huge part in the series from this point forward. Like, Ruderall really is amazing. Like, the fact that Ruderall can do what others cannot so easily and intrinsically, like, is huge. So obviously that's going to change how a lot of things are. I just finished part 3. We now know for sure that Isolie's working on her own. She's not doing this at the behest of the family, which is great. And she's clearly doing this because she is obsessed with Min. And she wants to be at Min's side, which is why she wants to take out Alia and, you know, try to entrap Min. And this is all going to blow up so hard. It's going to be bad. But now we've got our mage who had lost his mind. His mind is back. And he's dropped the name Lady Mask, which we haven't heard in quite a long time. So I'm really interested to see where I'm pretty sure this last part of the book is going to go. Because I think it's only 4 parts. I'm not sure if it's 5. I think it's just 4, though. I think that's my memory of previous books in this series, that's what they do. So, anyhow, I am really interested to see where this is going to go. I'm most likely going to finish it today because I am just in that mode where I'm craving this story really hard. And I've still got quite a bit of time in the car today. So obviously I'm going to make a good dent in it. And then once I get home and get some editing done, I'm probably just going to listen the rest of the night. So that's kind of my plan at this point. When I have more to say, if Min comes clean to Alia, obviously I'll talk to you as soon as that happens. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And with that, we have now finished Enchanter by Terry Mancour. This is the 7th book in the Spellmonger series. And it took me a minute to kind of gather myself after the end of this book. Good things that happened. Isolie is out of the picture as much as she can be for the moment. Not dead, but incapacitated, we'll say. Minalin and Alia had their conversation about what had been happening with Isolie, and that went well. That went much better than I anticipated it going, if I'm honest. The hard part about the end of this book is Alia's sacrifice, is how I'm going to word this. I'm not going to spoil things, obviously, for anyone who hasn't read it yet. If you've read it, you obviously know what I'm speaking to. That was a gut punch I wasn't expecting. It lets me know that Terry's not afraid to go there. Which, you know, with other things that have happened within the series, I can't say I'm surprised that this is where he went with it. I'm a little sad right now. And I can't lie, I teared up a little bit. But I am ultimately pleased with the direction of the end of this novel. Depending on how things went, like, you know, I just need to remember to trust my spouse. They recommend this series highly, and they have impeccable taste, I'm learning. And this is one of those things where this is a series that definitely should be talked about a lot more on the internet. Like, I'm surprised there aren't a lot more people out here talking about it. So if you're looking for an indie published fantasy series, I highly recommend the Spellmonger series. The next book that features Minalin as the main character is going to be very interesting. I do then know the next book we're going to follow Pentandra, which makes me very excited. I love Pentandra as a character, and considering the heavy ending of this book, I think it will be good to backtrack a little bit, catch up with Penny, and to move forward from there. So I can tell you right now that I'm probably going to jump right in to, I believe it's called Court Wizard. I forget the title, but I'm going to jump right into the next book because with the way this one ends, I need some of that lightheartedness that is woven throughout the series back. So far, this has felt like the heaviest novel of them all. Journey Mage was really a lot of fun. You know, it was a, you know, hero's journey style story and it worked well. But this one, we're dealing with some very heavy topics. And now we're doing a lot of grieving. I mean, Alia is not going to be living with Middelin and the kids for a while, at least. And I'm a little heartbroken for them over that. And anyway, I'm going to start crying again if I think about this too much harder. So if you're interested in continuing to see these vlogs, definitely let me know down below. Again, in the cards, everything is there for all the books that I've read so far. And I'm going to do these probably just for me and for anyone else interested in the series because I enjoy them that much. I know in the past Terry has reached out and Terry has sent me books, and I appreciate Terry's support of me and of our love of the series, me and my partner, my husband. So definitely support the series however you can. You can buy them physically. The audiobooks are absolutely fantastic. That's how I tend to enjoy them. But we do love having them on the shelf so that when people come by, they're like, oh, what's this series? And we get to tell them about it. So with that said, I'm ending this video. If you are here just because you love me, leave me something related to a castle down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.